This video will be discussing a no-cost solution for the inefficiencies of many millions of cook stoves that use wood. The chimneys that have been put onto these stoves actually result in 2/3 more wood being used, as most of the heat goes up the chimneys. And so in El Salvador, we worked with the communities to try to figure out what could be done about this very difficult situation, because sometimes in the community we were in El Salvador, it was a 4-kilometer walk to go up to get wood from a forest that was often burned during high winds in order to scorch it to make it available for wood for cooking, which is the #1 cause of worldwide deforestation now, according to the United Nations. And so in El Salvador, we came up with something that Benjamin Franklin came up with in this country, and that was to put dampers in between the fireboxes and the chimney, whether it was for the COMAL for tortillas, whether it was for the pots and pans, which, by the way, were nestled into their holes so that no flames would escape around them. Very efficient. And all of this was made with mud, so we're talking about no cost or very low cost solutions. And this resulted in a 2/3 savings of wood, because once you opened up that damper in the morning, and people would say it was like blowing on the fire because of the draft, the chimney effect. And then once the fire got going, the damper was pushed in, and up to 2/3 of the amount of wood normally used to make tortillas or whatever would be saved. So this particular cocina mejorada, improved cook stove, is now taking off, being replicated throughout Central America, and I'm proud to say that I had a little bit to do with helping to make that happen. This is one of the few things that I think I've had an overall impact with. So let's take a look at this booklet that was created by my wife Julie. She did the artwork, and I helped with some of the technical aspects of it. So now comes the hard part for me. I got to figure out how to move to the next slide without interfering too much with the movie itself. Let's see if I can find a... Yeah, okay, let's go to the actual part of the booklet. Let me see if it's back here a little ways. This booklet, by the way, can be obtained by writing heartmindalliance@gmail.com. The first step is to pack mud over brick and maybe a little rebar or whatever to create a firebox for directing heat to your actual cooking area, whether it's a comal as shown in this particular instance. And so you form bridges, as it says here, and make sure that the pots are fit to the mud, so that as it's drying, the pot is holding that opening so that when there is a fire, there won't be any flames escaping around it. One thing we found out is that it's good to have the comal slightly tipped toward, on the upside would be towards the chimney, to help the movement of smoke and heat up along the bottom of the comal. Let's see here. Now I'll take go back a little bit here. This was a little bit out of order. But once you have your stove, here you can see a double-sided stove with a COMAL and a pot boiling over here on the right side. Each one of these fireboxes should have between the firebox and the chimney a damper. In this case, they're vertical because it happens to be in the corner. But in many cases, there's enough room to have it be lateral, like in this picture right here. A lateral sliding piece of metal, usually just corrugated metal like it's found lying around all over the place, flattened out with a hammer so that it can be inserted into that mud as it's drying and pulled in and out during the drying process, so that when the rest of the mud is all dried and is actually begun its process of vitrification with the wood and the fire, the damper will slide back and forth without any problem. So let's see here, moving along. This is showing how in the morning or whenever you begin to do your cooking, you want to open the damper. And by having a little bit of paper to start a fire, and we want to recommend that plastic not be used for a fire because it is contaminating. Often we saw plastic being used to start fires because it's quite flammable. But it's better to use paper or something like that to get a draft going, and then it'll be easy to start that fire. Once that fire takes off, then you shut down that compuerta, that damper. And if you are able, with shorter pieces of wood, to close off the firebox's opening, then you can save even more than 2/3 of the wood normally used for cooking. Here you can see the chimney effect, where hot air rises and pulls in air through that opening. And what you want to do is have enough of an opening on that damper to let the smoke out, but to keep the vapor, as they say in Spanish, the heat, in as much as possible. People have often commented that they could do now with one linea, one piece of wood, what normally took 3. So there's a construction with 3 openings. These are very elegant because you can have, let's see if I can get my cursor in here. You can have eggs being prepared here in the morning along with your tortillas, and then over here you can have water boiling for coffee or whatever, and it's a very nice system with 3 dampers. This one's vertical, and usually we would have a wire to tie it up to hold it open, and then these 2 horizontal ones in this case. Okay, so let's take a look at a few more illustrations. This is showing the 2-sided cookstove with vertical dampers. We often would put a curl on the damper because that part would stay cooler when it was curled around that way. And then it tied 2 loops with wire. Very simple, no cost, 2/3 saving on wood. I mean, it's just, people saw this in workshop situations and began to replicate it. Everywhere that I went in Central America, they'd begun to hear about this. It's just remarkable because it's such an energy saver, not only for the firewood, but for the family that would have to walk often very far. Yeah, there you can see enough of an opening that you leave when the fire's going strong, just enough to let the smoke out the chimney. Here you see the stove with dampers on both sides of the firebox, and completely close as much as possible, and still letting the smoke out. Let's see, here we talk about that you can actually, with the COMAL, that could become an oven. You can actually bake breads and cakes in that area, because the adobe walls, the mud walls, and the COMAL is also made out of ceramic. All of that radiates heat back in beautifully. So all you have to do is clear out the fire and the ashes, and then slide in your pans for baking. And another possibility is that you can put coals on top of the COMAL, up above, kind of like a Dutch oven. Won't do any damage, and it's easy to clean that off, so that you can make tortillas easily without any problem with ash accumulation or anything like that. This was a wonderful discovery. Let's see here if we have a few more illustrations. Here's just showing another configuration. This is showing an important detail regarding the chimney, which many of us are aware of, and that is that the chimney should be higher than the highest point of the roof, because as winds come by, if the chimney is lower than the peak of the roof, you'll have down drafts that'll blow smoke right into the kitchen area. So be sure to get that chimney up above the top of the roof peak. We made chimneys out of corrugated metal, just rolled up, and then we put a tile, just a roofing tile on top to act as a roof, and there was enough opening underneath the concave part of the tile to allow smoke to leave very efficiently. Let's see if we have any other diagrams here. Oh yeah, there's just a close-up of the chimney itself, having a tile on top. And I like the teardrop idea of allowing rainwater, or forcing rainwater to flow around the chimney. Just using even mud will dry, and with the heat of the stove actually become vitrified, so that this can last for quite a while. Or you could use a caulk, maybe a ceramic caulk, to seal that chimney, so that rainwater won't be able to come in. There's a detail of using a tile to create an arch for the smoke to travel under and then up into the chimney. On this side, it does not show that. It's not needed, actually. You can simply have an arch made out of mud. Remember, all of this will get harder and harder with the use of the stove. And it's dirt cheap. Get it? Dirt cheap. Haha. Here's showing the firebox and the tunnel, la teja, the tile, and the damper, which would close off completely, or allow just enough of an opening to allow smoke to escape. Very elegant, We had a lot of fun doing many workshops throughout Central America. Just sharing what we learned in El Salvador, in the community of Colima in El Salvador. This is the Cocina Mejorada. And with that, I'll conclude. Thank you for listening. Tengan buen día y muchas gracias por escuchar esa experiencia desde Colima, en el país de El Salvador, donde juntos llegamos a una invención, ¿no? Un descubrimiento de algo muy sencillo y sin costo para ahorrar 2/3 partes de la leña usada en cocinar.